And sorry for that. Good morning. Once again, this third day of Feb 2026. My name is Jeffrey Kimaiyu. This is Morning Live, EBN TV, and thank you for being around. And you can follow this conversation through our social media platforms, that is EBN TV Kenya across. Our SMS line is 23059. We shall be giving you the updates. Then later, we shall be giving you what is in the dailies. And this is how we're starting off this bulletin. And low-income earners in Kenya could soon enjoy major financial relief following a government proposal to exempt more than 1.5 million workers from paying income tax. Speaking in Meru County, Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Badi announced that the government has agreed to remove income tax for Kenyans earning less than 30,000 shillings per month, a move aimed at easing the cost of living burden on vulnerable households. Badi said the relief will be implemented through amendments to existing tax laws, which will be presented to Parliament for approval. He noted that the measure is part of broader efforts to protect low-income workers and boost disposable income, allowing families to better meet their daily needs.
Anyone who is earning 30,000 and below in Kenya should not pay as you earn. You pay zero between 30,000 and 50,000. So you only pay 25%. We reduce that by 5%. So those who are earning 50,000, first you will benefit because your first 30,000, you pay zero. Then the next 20,000, you pay 25%. We have agreed with His Excellency the President. He has directed me to take to Parliament a proposal. I'm not even waiting for finance bill to come in June. I am taking tax laws amendment bill to Parliament. Once Parliament resumes, we are preparing that bill. Take to them to approve.
And transport in Nairobi was severely disrupted on Monday morning after a section of public service vehicles PSV operators staged a strike, bringing services to a standstill in several parts of the city. Hundreds of commuters were left stranded as striking PSV operators blocked major routes by parking their vehicles along key roads, causing long queues and bus stops and significant traffic congestion. The operators, who had announced the strike on January 28th, cited growing hostility and insecurity targeting public transport, including the alleged torching of their vehicles by border riders. They accused the government of failing to address their safety concerns, prompting the industrial action.
People are being touched. The government is not taking actions, and we are calling upon the government. We are giving them the demand that they have to give us the security in our industry. The industry have no dignity at all. If any border or any hooligan can take and lead a vehicle at any given moment without any action taken against him. So we are calling upon the government to give us the security, and you are demanded by fire, by force. With all means, we shall make sure that our industry is being dignified.
Na hii mgomo sio ati ni kuhusu matatu, ni kuhusu gari zote Kenya mzima zile, kwa sababu mkiangalia asua hizi gari zimechomeka, sio matatu peke yake. Kuna maturera zimechomwa, kuna personal zimechomwa. So mtu akichoma gari kama hii matatu, hii 33 hiyo gari 33 imebeba nduti ngapi hapo? Si imebeba pikipiki mingi sana. Haya, na watu wa pikipiki tuwesema wote ni wapaya. Kuna some hooligans wanajifichanga hapo ndani za zingine accident kama hii ikitokelea, sababu watu wa pikipiki wamejulikana ni watu wapaya. Wanachukua hiyo opportunity ya kuchoma magari.
And moving on, chaos erupted at Njoroge Secondary School in Nakuru County after residents staged a protest over the death of a fourth-year student, Brenda Akinyi. And according to the family, Brenda passed away while receiving medical attention despite reportedly informing school administrators about the severe pain she was experiencing. The family alleged that the school failed to provide timely support. The protest saw parents and local residents demand accountability from school authorities, calling for urgent investigations into the circumstances surrounding the student's death.
Wa kazi kufika kwa shule naambiwa na rafiki zake dada yako ni mgonjwa. Kwenda kuuliza nani anajua mtoto ni mgonjwa? Nasa anajua, anajua. Deputy anajua. Matron anajua. Na mbona hajapiga home simu? Ati sijui alikuwa anapewa treatment. Mtoto anakuwa mgonjwa siku 3 hakuni mnampea brufen.
Daktari akamuuliza maswali. Mtoto alianza kugonjeka lini na ulimpea dawa gani? Akasema mtoto aliblame kichwa kidogo na nikaweza kumpea brufen, na hiyo brufen na hiyo ndio nilikuwa nataka mpaka hapo kesho sasa akizidiwa ndio nitie mama yake.
Deputy principal alinipigia, in fact aliniinsult kwa simu akisema nani amekupea nani ulipigia nani alikupea ruhusa ya kupiga simu. Mimi nilikuwa na ruhusa yote ya kupiga simu juu ni dadangu. Lazima ningepiga simu, haezi umia kwa shule.
Walichelewa kunipigia niende nichukue mtoto nipeleke wapi OC. Sasa baka hapo singejua nini inaendelea, unaona. Sasa mimi wanishike tu, wanisaidie kufanya hiyo postmortem, tujue mtoto ako nini, hata nijue nini, hata rudi, na tukisajua ukweli iko wapi, mtoto aende azikwe apumzike.
Bungoma County is under scrutiny after it emerged that 3.6 million was spent on lighting the county's Christmas tree. The revelation came before senators from the Public Accounts Committee who have called on the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission (EACC) to investigate and hold accountable those involved in the controversial expenditure. In addition to the Christmas tree spending, Governor Ken Lusaka faced tough questions from the committee of the stalled construction of Masinde Muliro Stadium, a project that has faced significant delays despite its scheduled completion deadline passing.
3.6 million for Christmas tree celebration in September, and the money remains unaccounted for. You see, that's the worst thing. You will see that that interest is being taken on the 9th of September. A whole 3 months before Christmas.
You know, December is the Christmas. Or maybe Bungoma has a unique way of celebrating Christmas. Maybe their Christmas came early. But this
in Ethiopia, the new year was in our November. So maybe they're using the Ethiopian calendar.
Maybe they're using the Ethiopian calendar.
It was a very ceremonial function where people had Christmas hats and with some good tents. And they were jumping like nursery school children.
Chair, just for the record, because I know media will say I am the one who has done that. It is 2019. Please, Chair, I also need protection. Because what is going to...
Oh, you are not under any threat, Governor.
Because, you know, you are dressing like, you know, it's me.
The narration was supposed to be a facilitation to Mbale benchmarking. If you look at...
How can the county attorney be wiser than the chief officer, who is a custodian of all these records? This is a matter that is unethical. This is a matter that must be escalated to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. I know they're around, and this is a matter that we must mark to them, because it cannot be.
The Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, has stated it has no intention of taking the Deputy President's Lord in ongoing political alliance negotiations with the United Democratic Alliance, UDA, ahead of the upcoming general elections. Speaking during a youth fund distribution event under the Nyota program in Kisumu, ODM party leader Oburu Oginga emphasized that the party's priority is to secure influential positions in the next government rather than the deputy presidency.
As we move forward, we are not going to look for less. Lakini deputy president, usifikiria ya kwamba tunataka kiti yako, tunataka kukufukuza. Please, you are our friend, but as we negotiate, we are going to negotiate what our people deserve. We are going to negotiate what our party deserves. Our party is not a Jaluo party. It is a party for the whole of Kenya. And therefore, we are going to negotiate fairly. We don't want tribal parties. Hatutaki tribalists kuongeza nchi yetu. So we are going to negotiate, and we are not going to take anybody's share. We are only going to make sure that everybody gets their fair share in the national cake. This is our aim. And those who are saying they want to take over the government, I don't see them campaigning anywhere. They are just in one region, in one area, ndio wanazunguka hapo, lakini rais anazunguka kila mahali Kenya. Watapata kura vipi when you are not campaigning? I've never seen a president in Kenya who is campaigning with the energy the President Ruto is using. He's campaigning every day from morning to evening. And he's campaigning with projects, he's campaigning with programs, he's campaigning with benefit to wananchi. So let us continue to embrace our country and let us make sure that our people will benefit from the program.
Remember, you're watching Morning Life, and this is EBN TV. And moving on, President William Ruto has called on Kenyans to reject leaders seeking to reverse gains made in education, affordable housing, and universal health care, saying the reforms achieved under his administrations must be protected. Speaking on the state of the education sector, the president described it as absurd for opposition leaders to threaten to undo reforms that have improved funding, infrastructure, and policy across schools, colleges, and universities. He said his government is working deliberately to fix challenges it inherited in the sector.
Pale nyuma masomo ilikuwa na matatizo. 2022 capitation ilikuwa chini. Walimu walikuwa hawatoshi. Pesa ya kusomesha watoto wetu ilikuwa haitoshi. Hata program ya university ilikuwa karibu inasambaratika. Lakini kwa kutambua umuhimu wa vijana, we fixed the education program that was broken. Mimi naona viongozi wengine wanasema mambo mengi, wanajaribu kutupatia lecture ya mambo ya education system. We want to tell them, we are fixing your mess. You messed the education system. There were no teachers in class. There was inadequate capitation. There was no enough money for universities and TVETs. 21 universities were facing closure because of insolvency. Please spare us your pontification. Spare us the lectures you are lecturing us. We are simply fixing your mess. Today, we have more money going to capitation. This month, money for capitation was in school before students go to school, because education is important and it is the greatest empowerment we can give to our children. Number two, we have hired 100,000 teachers to fix the challenge of teacher shortage that you left behind. Number three, we have added more money for universities and TVETs to fix the problem of insolvency that was there in our universities. So we want to tell the rudderless, the leaderless, the agendaless, the planless opposition that you are an opposition without alternative.
Hawa hawana akili. Kenya is suffering because it's under average leadership. Wale watu ambao wanatuongoza ndio shida. Shida sio inchi, shida hiyo akili kwanza tunaambiwa sasa. Wanasemekana ikina Kalonzo hawana akili, Rigiji hawana akili. Sasa wewe mimi nakuuliza, mtu ukiwa na akili, upewe serikali mahali watoto wanaenda shule. Kesho watoke shule hawaendi shule. Hiyo ndio akili kweli? Uko na akili kubwa sana. Wagonjwa hawana chakula hospitali, madawa hakuna. Wewe ni mtu wa akili sana. Barabara kama hii tulikuwa tunafanya hapa nyoka. Hata hii Mama Road hapa Murang'a tulianza na Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta ikwame. Nini ni watu wa akili zaidi. Wale wako na akili zaidi. Barabara kama hii Keno Marwa. When we were in government, this plan tulikuwa, I was the chairman of the government projects when we were in government. We were saying hii ni kitu ya kumalizika in 2 years tumemaliza.
And moving on, Kakamega Deputy Governor Ayub Savula has announced his intention to contest for the county governorship on a United Democratic Alliance UDA ticket. Speaking at the Kakamega Sports Club on Monday, Savula confirmed that he has initiated the process of quitting a deep APK after formally registering as a UDA aspirant. He stated that the plans to attend a meeting for UDA aspirants scheduled for Wednesday in Nairobi. Safula was accompanied by Shinyalu, Member of Parliament Fred Ikana, who expressed support for the Deputy Governor's political move.
Safari yangu ya kuhama officially chama cha DAP imeanza. Tayari nimejiandikisha kama mkombezi wa kiti cha ugavana kaunti ya Kakamega. Hiyo safari imeanza officially, kwa sababu tunajua ODM na UDA watafanya kazi pamoja, na hiyo maneno ya alliance ya kina Munyoro na DAP, mimi siko ndani. Mimi nitasimama na president wangu William Samoei Ruto.
There is nothing about zoning. Watu wote tunawakaribisha wakuje wagombee viti kwa chama chetu cha UDA. Ikifikapo mwaka wa 2027, mwaka wa 2027, tutakuwa na marafiki wengine ambao pia watakuja kuungana pamoja na sisi, aidha kupitia kwa muungano ama kwa mseto. Sisi tutawakaribisha wakati huo.
Kisii County Commissioner Chaunga Mwachaunga has raised a serious concern over the rising cases of suicide, development and family disputes in Kisii County, calling for urgent collaboration among stakeholders to curb the growing social crisis. He's speaking in his office during a courtesy visit by members of the Nyanza, Western Kenya caucus of internally displaced persons. Mwachaunga said the county is witnessing an alarming increase in harmful social practices that are threatening community stability and the well-being of families. The county commissioner also pointed out that land-related disputes are increasingly fueling family rancors, further deepening tensions within households and the wider community. He warned that many of these conflicts are now being handled secretly outside the formal justice system, making it harder for authorities to intervene and protect victims.
Sema tu, I've realized in Kisii kuna challenges nyingi. Biggest problem Kisii, mimi napata cases za suicide ni nyingi. Sijui kwa nini, hiyo lazima tuangalie. I think those are cultural problems. Cases za defilement bado ziko zinapatikana kwa wingi. So ni social ills ambazo tuko nazo, lazima tujaribu kuangalia tuzirekebisha. But when it comes to ile insecurity, ati ni majambazi, ni watu wanaua ama people are armed nini na nini, hakuna. We have other problems, ni conflicts za mashamba, family issues. But hiyo mnajua kwa sababu ardhi inapungua na watu wanazidi kila siku. Sasa inakuwa kunakuwa na utata kama huo, but basic by and large security tumeweka vizuri. Lakini what we want to assure the people ni kwamba tutaweka usalama wa kutosha, because tuko na officers wa kutosha and we have all what it takes kuhakikisha kama kuna usalama. If you look at watu wa Kisii, you know, usalama saizi unapatikana, si ndio? Yes. The place is very much peaceful. Because ukiona vyaelea jua vimeundwa. Sio kwamba ati umepatikana tu, kwa sababu the agents of security wale ambao wako kwa ground wanafanya kazi zao vizuri. So we'll keep on that spirit, that tempo, tuone kama at least security inakuwa maintained. NADCO kuja kwake siwezi nikasema chochote, lakini kama anakuja watatuambia. Ataandika official letter and we'll go by the official letter, itakuwa inasema nini. Ikichochote kile kitakachosema itakuwa tutaona. Then ikiwa itabidi tuwa mobilize, definitely tuta mobilize. Mmechukua hatua kubwa sana kutoka kujipanga mwanzo wenyewe, kuweza kutafutana mpaka mkajuana, alafu mkaja pamoja kama kikundi, mkaweza kuketi hiyo miaka yote bila kuvurugana, na mkaweza kuenda mpaka mkaweza kumkaweka petition kwa bunge. Hiyo petition ikasikilizwa na mkatengeneza report. Sasa out of that report mnatarajia labda kitu. So hiyo si kazi ndogo, it requires a lot of leadership. Si kazi rahisi, especially 7 counties. Na saa nyingine hakuna facilitation, hakuna usaidizi, hakuna nini kupanga watu mpaka kwa pamoja. Lakini kabla nyinyi wenyewe mnafuatilia na mnasema kama kuna matumaini makubwa. Sio ile there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Mnasema there is a bigger light even without the tunnel now. Iko mko na matumaini sisi tunasikiliza tu kama county commissioners. Tunajua watu wengi pale mwanzoni mambo matatizo yalipoanza walilipwa na deputy DCs then.
And Migori County farmers are said to benefit from a new environmental and income-generating program that will pay them for planting and nurturing trees to maturity in a move aimed at boosting livelihoods while protecting the environment. The initiative, which will roll out over the next 3 months, targets 10,000 farmers across the county and seeks to increase tree cover while creating a sustainable source of income for local communities. The program is being implemented by the tree company Trico Fund under its People Planet Profit model, which combines environmental conservation with poverty reduction. Through the project, farmers will receive financial rewards for successfully growing and maintaining trees, encouraging long-term care and environmental stewardship.
It's a project that we have really planned to do. It's called Trico, tree company that we are sitting in Migori County. And the tree company, basically, many people are investing in what we call planting trees. But we think that people in Migori must be creative and go into what we call growing trees. The challenge for growing trees is that nobody takes care of those trees because there's no incentive for people to take care of the trees once they have been planted. So this initiative is the initiative that brings incentivized resources to be able to support farmers to take care of the tree until maturity. So basically, farmers are taking whichever amount of trees they can be able to grow in their small pieces of land. The desirable amount to be taken by any farmer is 365 trees, but we're making exceptions that some farmers can take even less, 50 to 100. You put it in your farm, then the partners that we have here through Trico pay the farmers here at least $1 if you may, or 10 shillings if you may, $1 every year or 10 shillings every month for the tree that has survived. So if your tree survives, you get paid for it. If your tree dies, you don't get paid. So that then it can be able to encourage people to grow trees. But most important above growing trees is that it enables those farmers to be able to have extra income to earn in their family, in their families. You can see if the average of an average of a farmer takes about 395 trees, it means that that farmer can earn up to 3,650 every month while just simply taking care of the tree. Targeting 10,000 farmers in Migori County in the course of the next 3 months. Already we have done 350 farmers in Nyatike, and today we have just launched 650 farmers in Suna West.
Nimeshukuru sana kwa sababu tumepewa miti, tunaenda kumpanda. Miti ukishapanda, miti iko na njia mingi. Miti unaweza uza, unaweza peleka mtoto shuleni. Miti unaweza kata, unaweza jenga nayo. Miti unaweza pashwa, hata unaweza peleka kwa kampuni utengeneza vitu bidhaa kama vitabu. Kwa sababu miti ziko na kazi mingi.
Kenya has taken a major step towards boosting its industrial growth with the launch of the fancy Isuzu MUX vehicle assembled locally using domestic components at the Isuzu East Africa Assembly Plant in Nairobi. The milestone was announced by the Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Trade and Industry, Lee Kinyanjui, who said the move will help reduce vehicle imports while creating more jobs for Kenyans through increased local manufacturing. He added that using locally sourced materials strengthens the country's supply chains and supports small and medium enterprises involved in component production. The launch was attended by Principal Secretary Dr. Juma Mukwana and Isuzu East Africa Managing Director Rita Kafashe, who noted that assembling the MUX in Kenya is expected to make the vehicle more affordable for local buyers. They said the project also reflects on growing confidence in Kenya's manufacturing capabilities.
That Kenya is indeed walking the talk when it comes to building deeper manufacturing capability. Today is an important milestone for Kenya for several reasons. One, that we are fostering a world-class local production, especially building our local capacity and also taking Kenyan standards to global standards. And this is being done through training of our Kenyan technicians, strengthening process engineering, and improving after-sales service. 2, that this process deepens value addition, and we have seen this journey step by step. We have moved from importing finished units from abroad to doing incrementally more of the work here at home. 3, that we are working in this way for us creates more jobs, grows local enterprise on the factory floor, and grows logistics, components, services, and retail. It has a huge knock-on effect across Kenya, East Africa, and the rest of Africa. So we are proud of this initiative by Isuzu that essentially places Kenya on the global manufacturing hub for automotive and puts us quite ahead on the African market. And it makes Kenya more competitive, meeting local demand confidently, and over time serving the region from a Kenyan production base.
Allow me to start first by celebrating the great relation that has existed between Kenya and Japan. I was just discussing with the ambassador today, and the number of investors from Japan who have come in the last 2-3 years is quite phenomenal. And the expansion of this particular facility is also testimony of where we want to go. Earlier last year, we did visit Japan with the president, and among the many things we signed were deals that are going to expand the auto industry. So we believe we have a long way to go.
Today we've gathered here at Isuzu East Africa for the launch of a locally assembled Isuzu MUX 7-seater SUV. This is a great milestone for Kenya because this is the first place in the world to assemble the Isuzu MUX outside of Thailand.
Another story from Isuzu ramps the update segment this morning on Morning Live EBN TV. We're moving on to the newspaper review. Please stick around.
Watching EBN TV, transforming your world. You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Are you ready for an uplifting experience? On Your Faith Today, dive deep into the life-changing message from the Word of God. Join Reverend Felix Gavoy as he shares powerful insights that will inspire, encourage, and strengthen your faith.
It is one thing to receive a prophetic word. It is another thing altogether to see that prophetic word come to pass in our life.
But that's not all. Experience special sessions of worship that will stir your soul and draw you closer to God.
You've seen them on TV.
Nakushukuru Mungu wangu kwa kunifikisha hapa.
But do you know their stories? Come with me.
If people look at me,
yes,
even before they hear me, will they see Jesus?
Wezi ambia watu mimi am a worshiper, na wakati you are worshiping, people can't encounter God.
Ukisoma hiyo inabidi sana katika ile maisha yako hata kama kwamba hauimbi.
Join me, Teddy Psalmist Mwana wa Ngolo Mosio, every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. only on EBN TV.
From Nairobi, Kenya, this is EBN TV.
How God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and power.
When faith in God is removed and now we trust in beliefs of men, then the church is losing ground.
Moving on to the newspaper review. In my hands, I've got the Daily Nation and the Standard, Kenya's bold newspaper, and I'm starting with the Standard, and there's a very big story here come 2027, and it's quite a bold move, and they're talking of just one candidate, and it is all about the one-term plan, whereby fresh details have emerged on how former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo is brokering a truce between ex-President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to forge a united opposition against President William Ruto in 2027. Multiple sources say the plan took a shape at a meeting in Nigeria attended by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, where the leaders agreed on the need for a single formidable challenger. Plans are now underway to make it happen. Read it from page 4. But if you go, there is a message or writing from Jeremiah Kioni, who is the Jubilee Party deputy leader. There would be no problem if Gachagua and Uhuru meet. Gachagua has wanted to meet Uhuru, and Uhuru has never said he doesn't want to meet him. The meetup would be interesting. That is from Jubilee Party deputy leader Jeremiah Kioni. And then it's a private source here from Lagos meeting. Talks between the opposition leaders kicked off since the Lagos meeting. That is why the united opposition are now attending meetings together, and the coalition will be rubber stamped when Uhuru meets Gachagua. And maybe you can get some details of the same from page 4, where we're looking at the opposition unity, and Obasanjo met Uhuru and Kalonzo. And the former Nigerian president is urging for a meeting between Uhuru and Gachagua to build a united opposition, he said. He is said to have met Uhuru and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka on December 31st. Last year in Nigeria. Now, a story I just want you to listen to it. Fresh details have emerged of how former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo is pushing for a meeting between former President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to craft a strong opposition to face President William Ruto in 2027. Obasanjo is said to have met Uhuru and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and on December 31st on the sidelines of the Future Africa Leaders Awards on Continental Forum that recognizes young Africans driving social, economic, and civic change held in Lagos, Nigeria. And this is last year. And it's so interesting that These are all formers. Uhuru Kenyatta is the former president, and Rigathi Gachagua is also former vice president, but he was impeached. Then we're looking at Nigerian president, he's also former Olusegun Obasanjo. Now, they're having a meeting to make sure that they ouster the incumbent come 2027. Now, we're looking at a place or even a block where Gachagua is holding, and actually it's a stronghold. It is a block that gives its fort a reach. And it's so interesting to see that maybe someone is being snatched off the same from their mouth, and this is the incumbent. And we're looking if the meeting will bear fruit from the same, because it is not easy. Maybe in Africa we've seen in history, but we don't see it's not easy. It is easy, but if democracy is held well, it comes very easy maybe to ouster a president, maybe within or even after serving for just one term of 5 years. But now there is a meeting that was held in Nigeria last year, and it's still moving on. It's a talk of just having one person who will ouster President William Ruto come 2027. It's a plan. It will be rubber stamped very soon. But the biggest question is, how sure are we that this will bear fruit, and how sure is it that maybe they'll agree on making someone or just one person to be on the top to compete with President William Ruto? We're waiting to see what all this brings in, but all the best as they plan the same. And moving forward, page 2 of the Standard newspaper, we're looking at the state moves to avert clashes as migrant herders pour into Isiolo. And tension remains high in Meriti sub-county, where at least 13 people were killed last year. A multiple agency security team has since been deployed to act as buffer between rival groups. And the state has stepped up security and peace building efforts in Isiolo County amid fears of clashes between host communities and migrant herders seeking pasture and water during the ongoing drought. And we also looked at what was happening. Actually, was it on Sunday and yesterday? The issue of drought has stricken areas around northeastern, and maybe Isiolo is part of them. And we're looking at the severe drought in northern Kenya, which has left many animals dead. And we've been looking at the actions or navigation methods that maybe can be taken by the government, or steps that can take to make sure that they mitigate the effects of drought on these regions. Because if you look at northeastern region, they are good in adding. They are so rich in cattle adding, and it becomes a very big loss to them if they lack pasture. At the same time, they lack water. So it's all about speaking, or even pointing figures to the national government to make sure that, because this is a property in this country, and maybe if all this happens and maybe these places are drought stricken, I think they can also do maybe a kind of mass patches for these others to make sure that they don't face these mass losses they are looking at or even staring at for a good time, and maybe put in greater planning and maybe to make use of the resources that we have in this country. I would feel that maybe these people from Northeastern won't face the same again. If it's all about maybe watering or even availability of water, maybe they pipe water from any region to the same region to make sure that maybe they water their pasture, or even they make sure that their animals afford water, or even they can get water easily. So it will have given bigger profit and advantage back to this country and its economy. So we push to the government to make sure that this is done. And what has been happening yesterday throughout the day, Monday, it was a promise for matatus or matatus to strike yesterday, and it was a report that was given. The Matatu Association gave a report on 28th January. It's all about city commuters stranded amid Matatu dispute, and a faction of Matatu operators went on strike yesterday morning, and this is yesterday, leaving thousands of Nairobi commuters stranded. And the protests over vehicle torching and driver attacks caused chaos across estates and the CBD. And thousands of commuters across Nairobi were stranded yesterday morning after a section of Matatu operators stayed off the roads, disrupting public transport in several estates in parts of the central business district. From at dawn, normally busy estates such as Kayole, Umoja, Githurai, Kasarani, and Rongai experienced long queues, and passengers waited for Matatus that failed to operate in the early hours. In the CBD, major bus termini were largely quiet, and daybreak, a sharp contrast to the usual weekday chaos of on-king vehicles, towns shouting destinations, and bamba to bamba traffic. Now, just feedback on what was happening yesterday. It is so devastating. It is not so good to see maybe Matatu people or even try to complain what is happening or why their vehicles are being touched. And one thing I just want to tell every road user is that there is no one time you'll ever go or even go away with a piece of the road. So what you're supposed to do on the road is just you have to be very careful, because sometimes maybe people with personal vehicles, border riders, and maybe the Matatu operators, sometimes you may feel maybe a section of the three categories, maybe they may feel that they are so entitled to use the road more and better than the others. You look at what's happening on our roads, and sometimes they can point out to our police officers and traffic police officers who man some parts of our roads. You find that they're just allowing Matatus to overlap as they wish. You find that they are outing to maybe a learner who is driving on the road for the first days, and after they would that, maybe this person maybe becomes so frightened in a way they may cause accident. So my advice to Matatu users and to everyone who uses the road from whichever part of this country, and I would wish to say that road is not made for any one person. It is made for us all to use. That's why we have pedestrians, we have riders, we have Matatu operators, when we have people driving their own cars. This is to mean next time you're on the road, make sure that you are careful, make sure that you follow the regulations that are given, make sure that you follow traffic rules and regulations, so that you don't feel that maybe you misused by the other party. Maybe that's why you see these Matatu operators that are complaining so much because of the touching that is happening from the border riders. I feel we need to hold high disciplines of the roads. We need to be very careful. We need to drive safely. We don't have to rush. Sometimes it's all about rush hour, but sometimes I do have a comparison. Maybe you're rushing to pick some people from a stage or even from a bus stop somewhere, then you cause an accident in between. What will happen? And now we are rushing maybe for maybe 1,000 for that one trip. Yeah, it's a good money, but sometimes you have to be very cautious. You have to be very careful on what we are doing before we make the 1,000. What is in between here? What are the cautions that we need to take? What are the precautions that we need to follow? And what are the rights that we need to follow? How am I supposed to take care of another road user? So please, I hope this will be resolved well. They are promising to do the same this coming Monday, but I feel before they go do the same, they have to sit down, agree, and notice that they're also messing on the roads. And everyone who is riding anything, even if you are walking on the roads, please do it carefully, because the road is made for each and every person to use carefully. You use it and you leave it there. And moving on to there is a survey shows Kenyans vote Nyota age limit while majority support the van. The story you can read from page 3 of the Standard newspaper. Then it's all about the question of opposition unity, whereby Obasanjo meets Uhuru Kenyatta, and Kalonzo. A story you can read from page 4, and I also ended on the same. Now, payslips freeing as new NSS rates take effect. We're still moving on as a country, and new contribution bans raise monthly deductions for Kenyan workers. And this contribution adds to housing and health levies, raising concerns about workers' take-home pay. And we're looking at maybe something that we need to check here slowly. It's all about the upper earnings limit. The cap on pensionable salary jumps to 108 per month from 72,000. The lower earnings limit rises to 9,000 from 8,000. The system uses 2 tiers. On the first 9,000, employee and employer each pay 6%, which is 540 shillings each, marking the first tier. On earnings between 9,000 and 1 shillings and 108,000, the same 12% total rates applies. And this expanded bracket means notably higher deductions for mid and high earners. So if you're there with your payslip, it's account again. Payslips shrink as new NSSF freeze take effect. And moving on, schools struggle to teach pioneer grade 10 class without textbooks. And 3 weeks into grade 10 under CBE, schools are grappling with severe textbook shortages. Teachers are forced into experimental teaching, risking learning loss for over 450 students nationwide. A story you can read from page 6, and this is a story that we've been pushing along with from from January to date, whereby it's all about the issue of capitation, whereby we were promised 100% transition, and the Vice President a week ago talked of 92% transition, and Migosi yesterday but one, he talked of the transition has already moved to 98%. And yet when you go to the grassroots, when you go to the schools themselves, and you find that the story that we're just hearing here, it is very different from what we get from our school. So it's a very key question that we need to ask the stakeholders, that when will this take place? Because if capitation or even it's enabled and money is given to make sure this grade 10 transition is done and every facility is provided for the schools and the students, why do we look at the practical part of it not working as the stories are being propelled? So we need to look at this issue of education and grade 10 transition to make sure that maybe it's not a fallout, because it was promised, it was planned very well, and it was a promise that it will be done very well, very carefully, and maybe for the benefit of the students. But now we're looking at a flip-flop of the same. Now, moving on, I saw stakeholders one share payment list made public for transparency. We're looking at the issue of SHA, whereby April follows statement by overseers that 91.4 billion had been dispersed. The Rural, Urban and Private Hospitals Association says members have not been paid. And we're looking at 130 billion collected by the Social Health Authority, out of which 91.4 billion has been dispersed to hospitals across the country, according to Health CS Aden Duale. And we've been having a lot of questions concerning the issue of SHA, whereby 11 billion was lost just within 6 months of operation. And we need this to be done transparently to make sure that maybe if there is any disbursement sent to any hospital, it has to be very clear, and it has not to be a ghost money that maybe is promised to the hospitals. Read it from page 8 of the same. PSG nomination sparks legal firestorm from page 9. And there's a cover-up story here from page 11 about someone who has been having issues with the issue of NYS, and it's all about court extends orders outing 6 billion NYS ghost tender payments, and the interim orders were extended until March 3rd, 2026, and when case will be mentioned. The judge further honored all parties in the case filed to file the responses and submissions. And we're looking at Ben Geddy, the lead suspect and claimant of the fraudulent 6 billion NYS tenders at Milimani Court in Nairobi. in the past. Remember, I said this is a follow-up story that we did the start of this year, January, and you can read it from page 11 of the same. And I think the last story, it's all about the inside the 72.8 million Kazi Maju scam that left over 360 youth is stranded. And it's all about what began as a hope for 364 youths has collapsed into alleged fraud, leaving shattered dreams. The investigators trace 72.8 million. They remain trapped in debt, expected to repay loans for journeys that never began. And we are looking at the agencies that recruit these young people to maybe jobs from abroad, jobs from maybe Saudi Arabia, from maybe Qatar, from India, another place just outside this country. And we were talking of the regulations and the rules maybe that need to be followed to make sure that if any recruitment is done, it has to be very transparent, it has to be objective, and for the purpose of helping these young people. Remember, you're a recruiting agent and maybe you have to request for financial a requirement from these young people who are seeking jobs from outside. Then later, what normally happens is that maybe they get some loans from anywhere. Once they get the loan, they give you this kind of money. And once you give them the money, it becomes a cat and mouse game whereby you can never trace the agent who maybe recruited you. Then later you find that you are not given what you are promised. Then later you have to pay back the loan that you took for the journey that did not take place. Sometimes we are people and we have to look, we have to fear God, we have to fear maybe messing with someone else. Maybe this person is so desperate, yes, we see, but how should you make them more desperate, for that matter, to make sure that maybe you benefit, it becomes an advantage for you, then you leave these people suffering all along. Okay, it's okay, but it's good to be very careful. Now moving on to the Daily Nation. We looking at how 1 trillion body debt will eat you whole. The government projects to borrow 1 trillion from the local market, which is nearly the entire 1.1 trillion budget deficit for 2026-2027 financial year. This is bad news for the private sector, since businesses whose pool of financials is shrinking fast will struggle even more to secure credit, as most lenders, including commercial banks, opt to loan the government with an eye on guaranteed repayment and higher consistent returns. Now, a report I want to give you, it's all about the domestic lending to government doubled from 8.6% to 16.4%. Then the credit to small businesses reduced from 7.9% to 0.2%. That's the effect of the 1 trillion body debt. And then after 24 years in power, Daniel Moi left in December 2002 when total public debt was approximately at 630 billion. Then foreign debt was 394 billion, then the local debt was 236 billion. Then composition about 50-50 between domestic and foreign, between domestic and foreign, and this is from Mwai Kibaki. It was 1.8 trillion. Then Uru's tenure, 8.7 trillion. Uhuru Kenyatta handed over power after 10 years in September 2022, when public debt had risen to 8.7 trillion. Now Uhuru roughly split 50-50 between external and domestic borrowing. Now we are up to 12 trillion, a trillion. Hey, all right. First 3 years under President William Ruto, total debt had crossed 12 billion. Mark by November 2025, the state plans to borrow an extra 1.1 trillion in the new financial year. So foreign debt, it's all about 5.5 trillion, and local debt is about 6.5 trillion. Now, I want you to do a very simple comparison between Moi and President William Ruto. Now, when President Moi left office in 2002, the foreign debt was 394 billion. Then the local debt was 236 billion. Now, move all the way to foreign debt, where we have President William Ruto. The foreign debt is 5.5 trillion. Then the local debt is 6.5 trillion. Look at that difference. Where are we going? Here. Then, okay, you can read it from the top page of the Daily Nation, and you can look at the numbers. You can see the numbers for yourself. Do calculation and see where we're heading as a country. Then, state sued over chaotic border rain amid matter to strike, and lawyer sued the government over failure to regulate commercial motorcycle operations, which he says has led to widespread road carnage, mob violence, sexual assault, and destruction of property across the country. The petition cites an apparent link between the state's inaction and the continued violations by border operators, including rising cases of the torching of vehicles, especially motorists involved in accidents with the rider C. You can read it from page 3 of the Daily Nation. Then, your job is safe. Okay, these are promise from, it's all about politics, and a promise from the interim party, ODM party leader, Dr. Oburu Oginga, and to the current deputy president, Professor Kithure Kindiki. Now, it's a promise. Your job is safe, Oburu tells Kindiki of a power-sharing talks. ODM leader Oburu Oginga says ODM UDA pre-election coalition talks will focus on fair and balanced sharing of government positions. Then, the lower part of the Daily Nation, it's all a mess, it's all a nightmare all through. It's all about the Great Transition, whereby CBE and the bold dream that turned into a nightmare. And when the government unveiled the new education curriculum, it was billed as a bold departure from rote learning to a learner-centered revolution to nurture skills and creativity and critical thinking, an end to the high-stake exam-oriented 844 regime until cracks emerged. Page 7 of the Daily Nation. Then commuters bear the brunt of war between matatus and borders. And this is page 2 of the same, and that's the story you know all about, and you can read it more from page 2 of the Daily Nation. Then cautious optimism as Kenya poised for moderate growth, and read it from page 3. Then how 1 trillion new loans will eat you small businesses. You can read it from page 4 of the Daily Nation. And maybe lenders, including commercial banks, will opt to loan money to the government, which seeks to plug its budget gap, giving guaranteed repayment on higher consistent returns. Other borrowers will have restricted access to credit. Now, it's a benefit to commercial banks and maybe a benefit to the bank, but losses to the citizens, because I gave you a summary of the debt, the local debt, and maybe the foreign debt that we have in this country right now. Then we still are exposed again into borrowing locally from our banks, commercial banks in this country, maybe a total amount of 1.1 trillion. How many zeros does a trillion has? If you know it, kindly send the same to our SMS line, which is 23059. So I was saying this. Now, it's a very big setback to our small businesses around, because we're looking at a long time whereby if you loan the government, this is to mean that you'll have a very long time of maybe loaning the government. Then this is to mean that it will be you'll be getting higher returns or maybe profits from the same and high interests. So maybe how this means to small businesses is that if maybe these commercial banks will be lending the government or loaning the government, this is to mean that maybe there'll be high regulations or restrictions for you as small business owner or holder to access any loan, because a lot of money is given to the government and they're given a lot of big interest in return of the same. So this is to mean maybe you're blocked and barred from getting these loans. So before this happens, if you're a small business owner, you can run to the nearest bank and get your loan before this is effected. Then SHA blamed for delayed treatment of injured teachers, a story you can read from page 6. Then CBE shine deemed by policy planning flaws. You can read from 7. It's all about the capitation. It's all about the transition of retained learners. The capitation is a promise, but we don't see it taking place on the ground. Then Kanjama unveils vision to transform LSK. Story you can read from page 8. Then I think we end it at page 10, whereby Uri and one to blame for making Ruto Mount Kenya darling. And this is Gachagwa's story. You can read from page 10 to no more. And there is a story that I did as an explainer and as an investigative story last week. It's all about the BBS Mall, and there's something good that is happening there. It's all about Welcome to Somalia, Kenya, and Diaspora Trade Week, and this is second edition from 12th to 13 Feb 2026. It will be happening around Isili, and this will be taking place in BBS Mall. And that's how we're ending the newspaper review and today's Morning Live updates here at Morning Live EBN TV. And coming up next will be Your Faith Today with Reverend Felix Kavoy, but today we'll be having Pastor Chris Pass Mosango. My name is Jeffrey Kimaiyu. Thank you for watching. If you have any comment, if you have any suggestion or any complaint, you can send it through our social media platforms. That is EBN TV Kenya, or across, that is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You can do the same to our SMS line, which is 2305. Now, that's how we wrap it at Morning Live. Have yourself a good day.